My second question pertains to implications of the constitutional amendments for the LGBTQ plus community in the political context. With these amendments, the effect would be that the courts are not the correct forum to determine questions of housing policy and same-sex marriage, for example. At the 2011 general elections some 11 years ago, the sexual orientation of an opposition candidate came into the spotlight, with the PAP asking the Singapore Democratic Party to, I quote, come out of the closet, unquote. And the PAP statement on this issue pursued an innuendo that made an allusion to pedophilia. In view of the speeches made by PAP MPs over the last 2 days and the call for any change on the definition of marriage to be a political question, can I confirm the PAP's position with regard to LGBTQ plus candidates standing in general elections? Thank you.
Now, if Mr. Singh can remind me on your second question.
It was about the LGBTQ question vis-a-vis whether they would, the PAP's position as to whether the LGBTQ community would not be victim of some personal attacks.
I think Mr. Singh mentioned pedophilia. Again, I don't recall the facts, so I can only answer in hypotheticals. I think if a pedophile was standing for elections, I'm surprised Mr. Singh would advocate that cause. Thank you, sir.
On the issue of pedophilia, let me share the specific statement that the PAP made, which led me to make that point. This was the statement that was released by the PAP. What is his agenda? A video has been posted on the internet showing Vincent Vijay Singh participating at a forum which discussed the promotion of the gay cause in Singapore. I don't think there's a problem with that statement. And thereafter it says, the discussion at the forum also touched on sex with boys and whether the age of consent for boys should be 14 years of age. The innuendo, I think, is clear. In the video, Mr. Vijay Singh was introduced as being from the SDP. In addition to other comments, Vijay Singh stated, I think the gay community has to rally ourselves. Perhaps one outcome of today's forum would be, for those of us who are interested, to come together to further consider how we can address the 377 issue, as well as further rights issues in relation to gays and lesbians. Now, I don't have any issue with the PAP coming up and saying, look, what is the political agenda of a candidate? But what is the relevance of that point on sex with boys? If not to cast aspersions on the candidate himself and to suggest that, did he make that point? Was this a forum where this was the only issue that was discussed? So that was intentionally included. That's my view of the statement.
Mr. Singh started out the second question by saying that pedophilia was talked about. Now, let me make it clear to him. If there is a candidate who is standing for elections, whether for the PAP, and I hope the PAP will never field such a candidate, or for the Workers' Party or SDP, and if there is a suggestion of pedophilia, I will certainly speak about it. And I'm sure all right-thinking Singaporeans will speak about it and will say it is not acceptable. So I don't quite know the precise context, but as I said in my speech, sexual offenses against minors continue to remain serious offenses, and we take a very serious view. And I hope Mr. Singh is not suggesting that pedophiles stand for elections and we do not need to talk about it. As to whether there are broader innuendos, I think let's get to the point, Mr. Singh. As the Workers' Party trooped into Parliament yesterday, there was one point, and that point is Mr. Singh, sir, as leader of the opposition, was not prepared for his party to take a position. That is what we are talking about, not about an election held in 2011. We are talking about 2022. What is our position on 377A, and whether we come here prepared to take a position or we are abdicating. I think I've made my points. We leave it to Singaporeans to judge.
Mr Singh.
Likewise, Mr. Speaker, I think I've made my point with regard to what Minister has said, but the issue wasn't about pedophilia, and I agree with him. I don't think anybody in Singapore would be thrilled to have a pedophilia as a person who is a pedophiliac standing for elections. But the question I asked was, what is the PAP's position with regard to LGBTQ plus candidates standing in general elections? I don't think a question has been answered.
It appears to me that, as usual, Mr. Singh wants to move the goalposts and start an entirely new debate about who can and who will stand for elections. I'm not the Prime Minister or the Secretary-General of the party, but my personal view is that anyone who is not a criminal and who is of good character and of sound mind and who can work for the residents ought to be able to stand for elections. In all of this, in a democracy, it also depends on how people are perceived and accepted in society. All of these are relevant considerations. One has got to look at individual candidates. But Mr. Singh started out by talking about pedophilia. I'm sure the records Hansard will show that. And that is why I answered, because I was shocked that he would even ask that question. Thank you.
Mr Singh.
Indeed, Mr. Speaker, the record will show what the context was with regard to that point on pedophilia. But I accept Mr. Minister's reply to my second question. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Attention turned to the online buzz about a YouTube video which Minister for Community Development, Youth and Sports Vivian Balakrishnan said the SDP is trying to suppress.
What video?
Netizens have highlighted a YouTube video of a forum discussing Section 377A of the Penal Code, which criminalises sex between men. The SDP's candidate, Dr. Vincent Vijay Singh, was seen in this video and mentioned as the possible first gay MP in Singapore.
Well, the PAP team contesting in Holland Bukit Timah GRC wants Dr. Vijay Singh to be upfront about his political motives. The call was made in a joint statement issued by Dr. Vivian Balakrishnan, Liang Eng Hua, Christopher D'Souza and Sim Ann. The PAP team are referring to the YouTube video allegedly showing Dr. Vijay Singh at a forum to discuss the repeal of Section 377A, as you heard earlier. And we believe this is one of the videos of the forum. The quality of the video is not clear, but according to the statement, the discussion touched on sex with boys and whether the age of consent should be 14. The statement says Dr. Vijay Singh was introduced as being from the SDP and quoted him saying, "The gay community could consider how it can address the 377 issue and other issues of gay rights." In the statement, the PAP team said candidates must be upfront about their political agenda so that voters can make an informed choice. It said Dr. Vijay Singh's sexual orientation is not the issue, but the video raises the question of whether he will pursue the gay cause in the political arena. The team also wants SDP to state its position on the matter. When contacted, the SDP says it is aware of the statement and will be responding to what it calls the PAP's smear tactics of discrimination and divisiveness.